Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist, and today we're going to talk about some of the powerful emotions that avoidants actually feel that are an indicator that they are devoted to you, that they love you, that they're attached to you. Now, why am I saying the word powerful, right? The reason is because these emotions are so overwhelming, they typically show up even when they're still deactivating. Like they are going to show this, especially if the relationship is very stable and actually there's not a lot of deactivation going on. You're going to see these very prominently. But even if there is deactivation, you will probably still see these things. And deactivation is just the avoidant feeling like the relationship is overwhelming or taking over their independence and they're starting to detach. So it's just when they bump into their own triggers, such as when you guys, let's say in avoidant, or you feel abandoned. Let's say you're anxious, preoccupied, and you feel abandoned. You're going to text them multiple times, not because you're trying to be difficult or annoying, because you simply feel that there should be some clarity around this because your understanding of uncertainty means that you're going to be left alone, right? When you were a baby, likely your mom or your dad left you crying for a long time, whether they were working, whether they were neglecting you for whatever reason. That's how this attachment style is developed. You are used to, you only get understood if you cry out. So maybe your mom forgot about you and you were crying and then she's like, oh, my baby, let me go feed that baby I have, right? Whether she's neglectful, whether she's young, maybe she's a young mother, maybe she's only 15 years old. And so what ends up happening is you feel like that's the only way you can get attention. So that's what's happening with you. Dismissive avoidance, often they feel with their deactivation strategy, for example, is they are taught anything that makes you uncomfortable, the solution is to shut down. The solution is to set up whatever you need to do to get yourself away from this discomfort. Because discomfort, if you show that discomfort, it's an emotion and then you're a failure, right? That's part of it. And then fearful avoidance, very interesting. Their parent swings between different behaviors because a lot of times fearful avoidance are from highly abusive families, okay? And so you might have one day where your parent is behaving chaotic and then the other one where the parent is acting very judgmental and very strict, right? And what ends up happening with this dynamic is fearful avoidance become very hypervigilant, very paranoid, and they pay attention to their surrounding much more than the other two attachment styles in comparison, simply because they don't know what side of their parent is going to show up today. And so fearful avoidance, hot and cold. They sometimes feel anxious, sometimes they need space. Sometimes they run away and then they come back. And so regardless of the attachment style, whether it's fearful or dismissive, they are still going to have these emotions when they feel safe and devoted to you. That likely means that they have decided that they're probably going to choose you for the rest of their life. Even if those strategies show up, sometimes they're still going to come back around because they love you. And the very first one is they actually feel proud of you. They feel proud of the relationship. They feel proud of themselves. Sometimes this comes in a form of bragging, actually. You might hear an avoidant bragging to you, even to other people, and say, you know, I used to not be like this, but look how open I am. I never thought I was a guy to be tied down, but I actually really care about this girl, right? You might hear them say that. Might hear, let's say we have a female avoidant. She might say, I used to be really paranoid about relationships, but I actually really can trust you. I actually feel really proud of myself. Or she might say something like, you know, I think we've come a really long way, and I hope that you can see that. She's really proud of the relationship and, in turn, proud of you. And this is one of the strongest ways avoidants show that they're devoted, because when they were younger, one of the ways, especially dismissive avoidants, that their parents showed love was proud, right? They are familiar with that's love, right? They might have had a really strict dad, and that dad will say, finally, when you detach all your emotions and you show up and you're the most athletic and you're the smartest, whatever it is now, your dad is finally proud, right? That is kind of the feeling. They know that love, and so they give that to you. It's usually one of the first markers. The next one is feeling emotionally safe. Usually avoidants need a very secure environment, and you might start seeing that they feel emotionally safe because they're able to be vulnerable without shutting down fully. They might be able to express their true self without fear of judgment or reactivity on your side, meaning that they're actually more comfortable being honest with you. Let's say, for example, you made them a chicken pot pie and you burned it. That's very kind of you that you even made that. God bless your soul. But you burned it. And they still love it. They still like it. But they might say something like, yeah, it's a little bit burned. I just didn't eat the top. Right? That's honest. Whereas maybe if they were being dishonest, oh my God, it's great. Like, I actually like the burn bits. And so it's you can see the difference, especially with dismissive avoidance. The honesty might bump up so much they might be very blunt. Fearful avoidance, they tend to be more gentle with the honesty, and sometimes the honesty takes longer for them because they just don't want to hurt your feelings. And so they might say something like, oh, I still really like it, just the top part is not my thing. Whereas a dismissive avoidant might say, yeah, I really like it, but just letting you know you burned the top. Right? So very different communication style. However, both of them are feeling safe enough that fearful avoidant doesn't think you're going to abandon them. Dismissive avoidant thinks that you're not going to criticize them or react poorly. And so that's a sign of them feeling emotionally safe. The next one is feeling excited and talkative. It's usually in a setting that, like it's between you two. So they're not always going to be talking about everything, but if it's between you, they will probably tell you the things that's very excited to them. Maybe they watch football or whatever. And the only team I know, I think it's football. I know the Colts, and then college football is Notre Dame, because that's the team that my partner likes. So I don't know anything about sports. That's football, right? I just know the teams for Indiana because that's where he's from. But that, right? So a lot of times some avoidance, depending, let's just give the example of sports because that's the first thing I thought about. They're really excited, they're talkative about it, and maybe before they didn't show up and open up about that, but now they're rambling about their team or whatever they're excited about because they feel safe with you. Maybe they bought a new, I don't know, a fish tank in their house and they're telling you about that, or maybe they have a new cooking recipe. They're going to ramble about that. I know I do that. I love cooking and I can talk about cooking all the time. I think in a lot of my videos, some of my examples have food or cooking because I just love cooking. It relaxes me so much. And so you're going to see them ramble and open up a lot about this stuff. And it's going to be different than when they were in the beginning, when they weren't as open because they didn't feel as safe. Now they're showing the side of them that they never did. Some dismissive avoidance, sometimes they talk so much they might talk over you. That needs to be situated eventually. You need to have a conversation about that because they don't realize, I'm just being honest with you, I'm not giving an excuse, but they don't realize that can be rude or like off-putting because they're not used to being excited in general. This is not a skill they use often, right? And so they still are untrained in this area. So it's helpful if you tell them how to behave because you want a long-term relationship with them and you don't want to be married to them for 20 years. And then when you guys are 20 years in the marriage, then you tell them because now it's built in the habit. Tell them when they first start doing it. It doesn't have to be harsh, but just maybe after a couple of times check if they're still doing it and mention, by the way, I really appreciate you sharing how expressive you are, but sometimes you talk over me. I'd like for, me to also have a side in the conversation. I like hearing you, and I'm not saying that. I just want you to understand my perspective, right? Something along there. The next one is that they end up being, they almost feel resourceful. So they're going to try and give you information and kind of try and save the day. So let's just say you don't know anything about cars and they know a lot about cars. They're going to try and help you and talk about cars when you need that help. It's not that they're trying to mansplain or whatever it's called, or if they're a woman, I don't even know the word for it. They're not trying to look down on you is what I'm trying to say. They're just trying to show you that, hey, I'm helpful, I'm competent, I care about you, and I can help you. Like, you don't need to go to anybody else or worry by yourself. I'm here to help you. That's all that means. They feel appreciated. So they might say, I know how much you care about me, or I'm really grateful for, how much you notice my change. I feel like I'm a better person because of you. And then the last one is that they might feel physically connected to you in bed. Before, the intimacy might be very detached or it just disappeared entirely, but they might get slowly more comfortable with it and they might be more connected. This might mean that they're more vocal. It might mean that they're more affectionate. It might be that they look into your eyes, things of that nature. So these are some of the powerful indicators, the emotions that an avoidant is devoted to you. Let's summarize and then we'll wrap it up. Feeling proud, feeling emotionally safe, feeling excited or talkative, feeling resourceful, feeling appreciated, and feeling physically connected to you in bed. I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.